Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. You're welcome to this Insight session. So I'd like to crave your indulgence. Please let's just turn our eyes and our attention to the multimedia screen. Thank you.
AI has a by far greater potential in an emerging markets because you can leapfrog infrastructure challenges.
Even the best hospitals, the lack of tools and record keeping leaves a lot of room for error.
Every class we have at least 100 kids.
Businesses are struggling to grow and scale because there's many infrastructure gaps.
There is a lot of room for AI to help us in everyday diagnosing.
Speeding up communication between doctors and specialists can save lives.
But now with Gen AI, we're now able to build learning resources with the click of a button.
So what AI can allow or any business to do is to lend to someone using alternative data that may otherwise seem unrelated.
The hope for the young learners, they become innovators.
Every learner can become an entrepreneur who can contribute to the growth of this economy.
But what AI really is trying to do is to be a tool that helps you do a job more efficiently, and now other people can do other things.
For Africa, the impact we've been able to make with about 20,000 patients, if we can do that with 1 billion patients, that would be astronomical. It excites me when what we build impacts people in real life. The Google program was a slingshot.
It gives an opportunity to really push the maximum. The future is exciting. AI's potential in Africa is limitless. We're at the forefront.
Thank you, and you're welcome once again to today's presentation. Don't worry, I'm not Olumide Balogun. Okay, I think one thing we've heard all through the summit is the fact that the NESG has a convening power, and using this convening power, bringing people, stakeholders together to have essential conversations. And one of those conversations is around AI. I just came from a CEO roundtable where there was a lot being said on AI. But one thing that is also clear is that not a lot of people really understand AI. So the goal of this session is to demystify the whole concept of AI, to let us know the power in AI, the opportunities, the challenges, just let you know how you can get involved. One thing I can let you know is that it's going to be a very interactive session. You'll not just be hearing things, but you'd also be making your own contributions. And with that said, I would like to welcome today's speaker, Mr. Olumide Balogun, who is the Regional Director at Google West Africa.
Thank you. Is the mic? Okay. Thanks, Godwin. Good afternoon, everyone. It's been a great session so far. I was talking to a few people who are, it's my second time at NESG. I was talking to some people who it's their first time. And I was kind of asking them what their experience has been like. And I know a lot of the time I always get feedback, oh, you know what, there's a lot of conversation. There's a lot of... Conversation is important. I think it's good for us to talk. But it's also good for us to do. I'm a very action-biased person. So what we're going to do today is, I really want to have a conversation. Okay? and I'm hoping that we leave with some actions. Okay? So please, one of the things that I have noticed as well is that the second you have artificial intelligence on an invite, you're like, I don't want to be the silly one, so I'm not going to ask the question, or I'm not going to make the contribution. Trust me, there's a lot of learning that we're all doing together on this one. And I think I just want you to know that your perspective is highly, highly valuable. So I hope to speak for a few minutes. I have a lot to say. And I want to prepare you. I have quite a few numbers to share as well. I'm going to try and keep it moving just so that it doesn't feel like an overload. And I'll tell some stories along the way as well, because we all love stories that will make you remember. And then we'll leave something like 35 minutes or something like that to have conversations, to take questions, and to really engage on some of the things that we need to do. Okay? In September this year, I'm not on this slide yet. Don't worry, I'll tell you when to move. Just keep it on the opening slide. In September this year, we revealed that Nigeria recorded the 6th highest search interest for AI in Africa. The 6th. I don't know. Do you think that's a good rank? Why? Because we're the largest. I like Nigerians. Chai, we're so proud. What if I told you that we were 25th in the world? But we're still 6th in Africa. And these are search numbers, right? So we look at search ranking in terms of the number of people who are searching for AI. And it's more than doubled. It's increased 130% compared to last year, the same period last year, 130%. And we're seeing searches that range from what is AI to how to use AI. Our search trends also tell us that Nigerians are looking to use AI to build their careers and creativity. So we're seeing everything from like, how do I create a CV with AI? Can you please help me reduce the light? How do I create a CV with AI? How do I design a website with AI? There are some nefarious searches as well. Let's leave those ones. It's important for us to talk about the ethical challenges as well. But we are seeing searches along the lines of career and creativity. And these are searches, by the way, that we've never seen before. 5,000% increase in those searches. 5,000. So it's quite interesting to see that, Nigerians are looking to see how they can learn more about AI and skills. Search for AI and courses, 50% increase. There are questions like, how hard is it to learn AI? How do I access and learn AI? We're also seeing AI and business has more than doubled. So people are talking about, how does AI affect my business? 110% increase in that. And jobs have I didn't know there was a word like that. Because I was like, 7 times, 640%. Septuple, you can put it down if it's a word you want to use. Oh, septupled. Yes, like quadrupled, septupled. Okay. 7 times. So in healthcare, there's a real interest in how AI can affect healthcare, 140% increase. So what this tells us is that there's a lot of interest from Nigerians to understand and participate in the AI revolution. Please, next slide. So, for me, honestly, it is with a deep sense of responsibility. I have some anxious excitement about what AI could be. I'll be honest with you. I'm anxiously excited. But I have a deep sense of urgency. That I stand here today to talk about the AI opportunity in Nigeria. And they wanted, the brief was like, let's talk about the future of work. And somehow I kind of landed on the AI opportunity because I'm very excited about it. But I'm also going to talk a little bit about the future of work. That's why I said, I'll say to my team like that, I feel like I'm going to explode. Because I have so many things that I really want us to come to an aligned position. I'm going to share some data and insights that hopefully help us align on. Because the first thing is always for all of us to agree on the opportunity. And then there are barriers. There are barriers that we have to surmount together. Government, private partnerships, education institutes, they are real barriers. See, I make no mistake. When it comes to technology, many years ago, I've worked in tech my entire life. But then I was on the hardware side, and I used to do something called long-term portfolio planning. So I'll plan for the next 5 years. It was the easiest job. You know why? Because we were just 5 years behind, usually like India or Brazil. So I just need to go and see, what were they doing? And I just put it. And most of the time I was right. But I'll be honest with you. With AI, the way we are going, we will be left behind. Sorry? Yes, we'll be like, when you said Tom and Jerry, I'm sure the image. So, the insights and the numbers that I share are directional because, it's still a new field and there's a lot of research that's being done. So you would see different types of numbers, but directionally, we'll kind of understand where things are going. The most important thing is I firmly believe that we have to move from a consumer mindset to a producer mindset on AI and on technology in general. We have to stop thinking about consuming. Even when I hear people talk about AI, I love the fact that there are searches there and how do I learn AI and how do I use AI? Because we have to understand that there are local problems that we can solve only by ourselves. Right? Honestly, it's not even going to be Google. It's going to be Nigerians here who understand the system, who understand the context. Taking this technology tool, yes, we'll have enablers with hyperscalers such as ourselves, government providing the right policies, and we'll talk about that, but we have to solve those problems. And if we do that, we can take our seat amongst the Committee of Nations when it comes to the subject of AI. So I'm going to cover these three things, as I said. Let's move to the next slide. Almost 2 decades ago, I was doing my final dissertation and project, computer science, of Obafemi Awolowo University. And interestingly, what I built was a doctor. Me taking a microcontroller, I took multiple sensors, I programmed the microcontroller to be able to use simple logic to identify common ailments. My goal was really to get that device into rural areas so that we could support people that found it difficult or hard to reach a doctor. And it's interesting because that was almost 20 years ago. I passed the course, I graduated, and that was the end of it. And those are some of the problems that we have in Nigeria is we just read to pass, to get a degree. And there's no ecosystem that essentially, I could have been a billionaire now. Because no one's even talking about this at the time. Thank you. Thank you very much. And that's the basic idea behind artificial intelligence, right? Computers handle tasks that require human smarts. That is it. It takes a lot of data. With the advent of supercomputers, you can analyze the data, provide insights, solutions to problems. And we know that this can make life easier, more efficient, from everything from healthcare to agriculture, right? And there are 3 broad areas of AI. I just want to go through it very quickly. Number 1 is AI for society. So think about how AI essentially affects everything from healthcare, as I said, to agriculture. I'm going to share some inspiring stories if we get the time to do it. But that's one, is how do we aggregate data en masse at a national level such that we can start seeing insights and patterns in the data. And that can inform us on decision making. The second part of AI is generative AI. And that's the one that has kind of like been the, if you want to call it, the poster child for AI, because that's the one that's very experiential for everyone. The computer can learn and can generate original content. The content didn't exist before, right? So that's generative AI. And the third AI is what we call artificial intelligence, right? So artificial, we're not quite there yet. The difference between AGI and AI is that with AGI, the computer self-learn. It learns by itself. AI, you give it the data to train, you train the model, right? What we call foundational models or large language models. But with AGI, the computer learns itself. So those are really the 3 broad areas, right? And remember I said that these things can make life easier from healthcare to agriculture to work. Okay, now, because we're on the subject of work, I'm still on this slide. Don't worry, I'll let you know when I get in. because we're on the subject of work, I want to, again, when you predict the future of work, it's a prediction. I don't know if you know this, but, you know, if prophets in the Bible, in old times, if you prophesy and it doesn't happen, they kill you. This one is not prophecy, it's prediction. So, it's prediction. So what we are able to do is, by virtue of the field that we're in, by virtue of the fact that we're close to the technology and how fast it's evolving, we're able to do what we call human-computer interface. We're able to look at how that would affect human lives and how that would evolve things. I'm going to share with you 5 things very quickly, because I know some people came because they wanted to hear about the future of work and essentially what that means. Number 1, and by the way, when I say the future, I'm talking about between the next 5 to 10 years. It's that close, because the pace of the innovation is astronomical. Like the amount of investment that hyperscalers are putting into AI. We are innovating faster than anything we've ever done. So I'm talking about the next 5 to 10 years. So if you're in the C-suite in the room, you know, you're going to run a business, you own a business, you work in a business, or you're in government, these are things that you should kind of like just put down and say, okay, how am I thinking about my strategy and how my strategy for business is going to evolve? Number 1 is that we will move into an area of co-piloting. Co-pilot. Technically what that means is everybody will have an ABP or an EA, executive assistant. Everyone would have an executive assistant. So a co-pilot will handle all of the mundane tasks. Everything from, imagine someone sent you an email, are you going to come for this trip? You responded and said, yes, I'm going to go for the trip. You give a date, you give a time. Your co-pilot can go, book the tickets, schedule it in your calendar, book your taxi, book everything. Will be done. You can clap. You can. So the era of co-pilots is really going to transform work. And I'm going to share something with you a little bit in a few minutes, which, you know, I really think it's going to happen. So co-piloting. You may ask the question, but there are people who do the jobs today, and they will lose their jobs. The subject of jobs and AI is something that some of the time we shy away from, but it is true. And what that means is that right now we have to start upskilling people. So while there will be job loss, we believe that there will be much more job creation than jobs that, as a matter of fact, we will create higher paying jobs. So be ready to pay more money, right, to the people that you want to employ. So the second thing in this new era is job creation. New jobs will emerge. Let me tell you, in the next 5 years, there will be something called, even right now in certain areas in tech, we have people called prompt engineers or prompt specialists. Because the output you get from AI is as good as how well you prompt it. So you'd have people like that who essentially would be looking at how they just work with your organization to work on prompting and how they get the right efficiencies from the large language model. Ethical AI consultants. Things like that will emerge. New jobs. There will be high-paying jobs. And we need our businesses to be ready. Because if we don't get ready for the revolution, you will have to employ semi-skilled workers as skilled workers. Because we're in a global ecosystem. People will leave. Guaranteed. We also think that there will be transformation of jobs. Jobs that currently exist will transform, requiring workers to acquire new skills and adapt to AI power. I actually feel that's happening right now. But I think it will happen at a much faster pace. Your certificate will not be enough. Your experience will not be enough. You will need to upskill very quickly to be relevant in your job. So business leaders need to start thinking about how they are going to be ready for this. Don't let it teach you from behind. Okay. 2 more. I think that a 4-day work week will emerge. He said it's already there. Officially or unofficially? Officially. Okay. Let's tick that one. It's happened already. It's work from home that is now not working. So what's going to happen is that because there is increased productivity, by the way, I hope you know that the 5-day work week emerged when we had the mechanical revolution with Henry Ford. People were working 7 days a week. It is when they came up with the division of labor that they actually moved to a 5-day work week. The AI revolution is going to move us potentially to a 4-day work week, if not a 3-day work week. But there will still be massive efficiencies if the organization is ready. Work-life harmony will be, especially with the younger generation that's coming up. They don't want to work 5 days a week. The good thing is that they won't need to. Sorry, we don't want to. The good thing is that they will not need to. They'll be able to do more in less time. Just think about it right now. How much of your job is very operational? And I'm talking about every level. At every level. I'm in C-suite, like, I spend a lot of time reading emails. If I could do a demo for you today, I'm not sure we have time for it. There's actually something called Notebook LM. It's a Google, yeah. You can just load your documents and it will convert it into a podcast. You can just listen. If you have Copilot, the Copilot can actually write the email for you. All you need to do is approve and it will send it. There's going to be a lot of mundane tasks that are going to be taken care of. So if right now you're in a field where your task is repetitive, think about how you upskill. It's very critical. Okay, so from an economic perspective, 2 things strike you one way. Number 1 is AI will supplement, replicate, and surpass human intelligence on a wide range of tasks. Number 2 is that notable features will increase investment in AI. The change is already happening, okay? However, let's go to the next slide. Developing economies are not, the investment is not quite there. It's almost like we feel like this thing, is just there. When we hear about AI, we're like, oh, robotics, like robots moving around. That's why I talked about the 3 broad areas. I just want to let you know quickly. So the data that I share in this presentation, the source is usually at the bottom. I may not quote it, but just take note of it in case you want to go back and look it up. Okay. The other thing is that when I talk about markets, I will talk about market size and I will talk about economic activity. So essentially, your business right now is sized based on things like your cash flow, how much your business is worth is different from how much your business contributes to the economy. So I'm going to talk about those 2 numbers. So just stay with me, okay, as I go on with this. So we see that this is contribution to economy, $13 trillion by 2030. The current market size for AI is about $450 billion. We see that it's growing at a 50% growth. Over the next 3 years, it will get to about $900 billion. And that will contribute $13 trillion. So if I am a company and I build an AI tool, that tool will offer value that's, of course, much higher than what people paid for it. You understand what I'm saying? And that is the 13 trillion that you see there. We think that fluctuations in supply and demand, there will be volatility in the market, but the trajectory is going to be sustained. Okay, so there's real opportunity here. By the way, for context, 13 trillion is half the GDP of China. Right? Half the GDP of China. I'm just looking, I'm like, how am I going to finish? Okay. I just want you to know, just for comparison, mobile internet contributed 5.7 trillion. So AI will contribute twice what the mobile phone in your hand has done globally. That's to tell you the impacts. Let's go to the next slide. Prediction. So this is data, right? So this is modeled data. Is that AI will have, as a matter of fact, we say AI is the most important thing humanity is working on right now. It's more important than when we discovered fire. Because it will touch everything. And we have to be ready. When it comes to Africa, there is forecast that says if Africa can get 10% of that prize, we should be at $1.5 trillion. 1.5 trillion. Let's go to Nigeria. Because let's go to Nigeria. Next slide. And Nigeria could be 15 billion of the 1.5 trillion. Today, the market size for AI in Nigeria is about $1 billion. There are about 200 companies thereabouts, startups mostly, who are doing work in AI. So there is market today. We think that it will get to $2.6 billion by 2030, but it will contribute $15 billion to the economy. And that's just staggering. Okay. And also, next slide. But it's not just about the money. It's about the meaningful outcomes that AI will offer us. Think about education. See, if I get started on education, I can spend a whole session on what AI will do with education. Climate resilience and food security. There's a lot that's happening already today. How AI will help creativity and help us drive deeper meaning and connection. I talked about the future of work and how AI will move us to a 4-day work week, and it will help work-life harmony because you'll be able to switch off. AI will know when you get home, the mood lights in your house will change, the music will change. It understands that you are now in home mode, not work mode. So those are meaningful things and essentially drive ongoing prosperity. But, next slide. We have a long way to go. If we are to unlock this opportunity, so what you see here is what we call the AI readiness score. You can see India is at 62. This is over 100, right? It's index versus 100. You see Nigeria is at 39. And I'm sure for those of us who have kids, if your child comes home with 39, you know that there's work to do. And because we are 39, right now we will only get 2.5%. You know I said we could get 10%. We will only get 2.5% of that. Even though we are 17% of the global population. That's not fair now. We have to do better than that. Next slide. So let's talk about the barriers. Number one, because I want to move quickly. Number one. So there are 4 barriers I'll cover. 4 barriers. Let's just go into the barriers real quick. So the first barrier is talent. Talent. Right now, there's a huge talent barrier that we have. And this one is one I'm so passionate about. We have tertiary education enrollment is at 12% right now, which is abysmal. Like if you think about India, they are 30% tertiary enrollment. Brazil is at 32%. I'm using emerging economies like ours. If I use I'm using emerging economies that we should say, we should be closer to this as well. Declining school rates. We have 10.5 million children out of school between the ages of 5 and 14. If you take that into junior, we have an additional 8.1 million. Let me just tell you what that means. 1 in every 3 children are out of school. So we talk a lot about population, but if the population is not productive, we can't take advantage of this wave. We cannot. Literacy rate is at 62%. Lack of digital focus training. There's 100 million Nigerians who are lacking digital skills today, and they are not ready. Graduates. If you look at the data, employee score, ease of finding skilled employees is 3.9 over 7, just 3.9. So you still need to skill even people who are BSc. You know this, we have 600,000 graduates right now who are leaving school. And we still need to skill them, most of them, not all of them. So there's a huge talent barrier. The one that's also very dear to my heart is that less than 20% of them are women. Especially when it gets to STEM education, science, technology, engineering, math. This is like a crisis. Because by 2030, 50% of the jobs in the world will be STEM jobs. 50. And we are not ready to take advantage of that. Some of the work we're doing, I don't want to spend too much time on that, but we announced last year we want to train 20,000 young women and children. We're actually even doing training in Hausa. I really believe that we should be able to train people in a language that they understand. Because why do you have to learn English first and then you now come and learn AI? Infrastructure. Infrastructure is the second barrier. We know we have limited internet access. We're currently right now penetration rate 55%. We have insufficient computing power in Nigeria because, this AI models actually run on supercomputers. Remember I said again, we have to have a mindset of being producers, not consumers. Electrical power is the other one with AI. It consumes a lot of electricity. Data centers that power computers use between 1 to 1.3% of the world's electricity. AI servers use between 85 to 134 terawatt hours of electricity. That's what we will need by 2027. For context, if you take out South Africa and you take out Egypt, that's the electricity that the entire Africa uses in a year. And right now, we're still struggling to power our fridges, freezers. Well, if you're on band A, you're okay, Sha. So there are real infrastructure barriers that we have. We've invested in the Equiano undersea cable. I know a lot of us have heard about that, all the way from Lisbon in Portugal to South Africa has made landfall in Nigeria. Because we're trying to see how we can affect the price and the cost of internet connectivity. The third one is big data, access to big data. We have a massive data problem because, as I said, foundational large language models, they require data. And right now we have a data bottleneck. So organizations that are in the room, I keep asking, are you collecting data? With permissions? Do you have structure? Are you structuring your data? You're cleaning them up. Every interaction with your customer is a data point. And you'll be amazed at how much you can forecast when you have data. When you give it to these large language models, how much insights. The second thing is that if we build large language models globally that are not trained on data that is from Africa, from Nigeria, we are dead in the water. If the large language models can't understand our language, can't understand and we know there's been ethical issues before. We've had problems even ourselves. I'll be the first to say that. I'm talking about Google now. We've made mistakes in that area. So how do we make sure we're collecting this data? How do we make sure that we are feeding our data anonymized and it's training the models so that the model understands that there's a type of person that does this, that speaks this language, that has this living context? Okay. Let's move to the next slide, just because of time. And then innovation barrier is the other one. If we don't incentivize people to innovate, they will not solve problems. What we incentivize people right now to do is to dance on TikTok. It's great. There's no problems with that. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. We're creative people. But that cannot be our claim to fame. As a continent and as a people, we have intelligent, but we always say Nigerians go out of the continent. But if we don't build laws that can protect people's IP, why will they go and spend the time solving problems? I was talking to an IP lawyer. It's like all the IP laws are moribund. Like if somebody comes and says, I've invented something that's new, an agency should be able to validate that it's new and patent it. Anyone that uses that essentially gives you a royalty. That is how it works. If we want people to solve problems with AI, we have to have policies that protect their IP. 0.3% of our GDP goes into R&D. India, who has a much larger GDP, does double that number. Brazil, 1.1%, just into R&D. They invest into R&D. I've talked about the obsolete IP laws. I'm not going to cover it again. And we are trying, we did an announcement, 100 million naira. They came for me on the internet, but it's okay. And they're right. People felt like we should do more. And that's why one of the things we're going to talk about today is how private entities can also support the work that government needs to do. It's not a work that government is going to do alone. Okay. I have 2 or 3 more slides and I'm done. I promise you. Okay. Next one. So how do we accelerate this prosperity? And I want to really focus on actions now. Actions that we need to take. Just next slide. I think actually is my last slide. Okay. Talent. How do we think about AI-focused internships? You know, I was at my alma mater university and I said to them, what are you doing? You need to have a department that's AI. Just a department. Computer science is so broad. And I was happy because they started it. Now they have a whole department for AI. Great Ife, yes. Support AI skilling as a basic prerequisite to higher education. See, I said this in the CEO from, we have to set basic prerequisites for people to even leave school. Let me tell you, the days of passing math and English, they are good though, but it's expired. The best programmer that I ever worked with had never been in the four walls of a school. Eli, from DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo. Never been to the four walls of a school. But he can speak the language of the global economy today. Sorry, ma? Is that a good thing that he cannot go to school? No, but I think it just tells you right now that you don't necessarily, see, school is important because there's so many things that school offers that's over and above, right? But school also needs to offer what is necessary for people to be ready, to be relevant for the knowledge economy that we're moving into. So how do we launch AI-focused internship? And I'm talking to government folks who are in the room. I'm talking to private entities. I'm talking to people who are in corporations. And you should be knocking on the door of your corporate and saying, why are we not getting trained on AI? Infrastructure. How do we prioritize tech-enabling infrastructure investment? Because we can leapfrog old generation solutions when necessary. See, let me tell you, we don't have to follow the path everyone did. I get people ask me a lot is, people haven't eaten. Why are we talking about AI? Then I start to explain to them how AI can even support food security. I start to talk about how AI can support healthcare. These are things we're already doing today. We need to do these things in parallel. If not, it's when we are full, we'll now wake up and the world has left us behind. Innovation. We have to work with local founders, local entrepreneurs. We have to drive and sponsor government policy to support and protect innovators and IP. We have to do that. Lawyers in the room, those are things that we should be engaging on a policy level with the government. How do we make this something that we've got out of this NESG? Is that the laws are not just there, but then the laws are laws that are active, that people know about it. We're talking about it even at university level. As I said, if you're a final year project and you're working on things like this, you should know that there are IP laws that if you build something that's new, you can be protected. You can turn it into a business. Facebook started in a university. We have to believe that it's possible here. And finally, on data, we have to evaluate and improve corporate and public data collection and protection strategies. Think about, is this stuff that you're doing? And of course, local language input, text, voice, it's very important as well. We cannot leave people behind because they don't speak English. That would be irresponsible of us. We have to carry everyone along. Because you don't know. Maybe the best programmer is somewhere in Kaduna. And all that she speaks is Hausa. Thank you very much. I hope I didn't cause any harm with my explosion. All right, so we'll take questions. I also, you can moderate. I also want to say that if you have contributions or builds, because I don't think that, Google or even I know everything. I think it's important that we make this a conversation. And I just I really want us to take out some action points that we can say, okay, this is what we're going away with as a collective. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so we're just doing the logistics of the Q&A. Any questions? We'll take as many as we can.
So,
I think we needed a mic so people can line up, but
yes.
we'll do it there.
So we'll try to take everyone, but we'll need you to raise your hands, and I'll try to take 1, 1, 1 so that we are balanced. 1 per row. Yeah, per time. So we'll take in batches of 3, or do you want?
Yeah, we can do batches of 3. Can I get a pen?
A pen and a paper. Don't worry, I've seen hands. The usher, yeah? Okay, so I'll start here from my right. Question or comment?
A question. Do I need to start? No, I'd rather not. So my name is Peace, and I currently work as a product marketing manager, right? Okay. Hi, my name is Peace, and I currently work as a product marketing manager. So my question is, currently it looks like SEO, search engine optimization, is being infiltrated by AI. Because you work with Google, there is a lot of discrepancies that Google is trying to shadow ban things that are not very original. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So if your content or your text or your ad is very AI-ish, it gets kind of shadow banned. So I'm thinking, if we are saying AI is advancing and then marketers are using AI to get easier work, but the platform is now asking us to pay more attention to more original content, it sounds like a parody to me. I don't know if you can explain I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So I'm saying,
I do.
Yeah.
I get it, Peace. Thank you.
We'll start from the front.
All right, thank you very much for the very interesting presentation. My name is Nika James. I work in KPMG. And I have 2 questions. The first has to do with the future, like you said, and that a lot of jobs will be lost to AI in the future. And we know we've heard things like even lawyers, accountants, doctors, you might find them losing their jobs. Yesterday, I think there was a discussion around how many people are we going to throw into the workforce in another 10 years' time. I think they said 12 million people. So the question is, what kind of jobs should we be preparing people for in the future, especially here? If a lot of the traditional jobs, you only need less of people doing them. So the question is, what should we be getting children and the generation coming up to do in the future? That's one. Second one has to do with ethical issues on AI. So we've all heard about the drama, OpenAI, Sam Altman, he was removed, he was brought back, and there are issues about the ethics. And sometimes people say they really don't know how AI works. And as human beings, are we going to be able to have control of it in the future, and everything? So I would like you to give us some perspective about the risks. Because we've had a lot of benefits around AI, but also the risks area for AI. Thank you very much. Oops.
All right, thanks so much, Olumide. Hi, everyone. My name is Blossom. You literally shot yourself in the foot when you talked about incentivizing. You talked about TikTok. Now this is there to me, and I'm sure there are people here that are in my shoes as well. Do you know what is called Google Mapping? Did you ever know about Google Mapping parties? We're talking about 2 decades ago, 15 years ago now. So these are things that I was involved with because I just loved to do it, right? So I would gather ourselves together, we'll go around Abuja, we'll map locations. In fact, this morning, I got this notification, somewhere you mapped several years ago has gotten over, thousands of views and all that. Google has never thought of incentivizing me to do that. That's me, generating data points for you guys to sell and get eyeballs and make profit. I'm not part of that value chain for no reason. The only reason I'm still there is I loved to do it. But for how long? That's one. Then I'm very huge on Igbo culture. So I am a Google translator. Once again, Google has never bothered to thank me for doing that. For how long will that continue? So we're in this creator economy where you talk about TikTok. The value they give their audience is that person dancing. So that's why they have to incentivize the person. So when will Google really take the creator economy seriously outside of YouTube? When? That's my question. And if you can give me an answer that would sort of console me and encourage me to continue doing what I love till the time comes when I can earn from Google, I'll be very happy. In fact, that's the only reason I came into this hall, to ask you that question. So, in fact, my people here, I've already shared it with them. They were like, we'll do a Luther for you guys here, man. So thank you. If you agree with me, shout a Luther.
Thank you, Blossom. Let me start from your question because I think it's a tough question. I'll tell you why. First of all, when you think about something like maps, right? A lot of the information on maps, right? People add those information themselves because they want to. It's just like, for example, when you go to a place and you enjoy the food, you want to leave a review because you think that it will help your community. The incentive for those psychographic of people is not money. The incentive for them is that I'm doing something to make a product better that would help other people in my community, right? So the incentive for them is more emotional. And the platform that we offer says, okay, add to that and it will help. Now, the other type where you said, okay, people you were mapping, those were like in the early days. I know that there were times after that where certain people did get some type of incentive. It wasn't necessarily monetary because, people don't understand, like some of the time as a company, it's very difficult for you to put money up every time for people to do things because at the end of the day, everyone is contributing to technology that would help make life better. And these products are products that we also run on heavy servers and we don't sell the product. Google Map is a free-to-use product, yes. We try to see how we can keep the products running by monetizing it through advertisements. But for the most part, how many times have you used Maps and you saw ads? Ask yourself the question, right? Not a lot. Not a lot. I think I'm getting there because she's nodding. But I just want to make something clear. Like when I talked about dancing, hey, people dance on YouTube as well. I'm just saying that we are very creative people, but we can also do technical stuff. So we must encourage our young ones. We must encourage people that there is also an opportunity here, right? It's both. It's not either. Okay. So that was your question. On the languages one, I think it's also the same thing. Like we have to think about just imagine. I always say this. Like there's a man somewhere in a village in the east who speaks only Igbo. Why should he not be able to get on the internet? All of us who speak Igbo and English and can add to the work so that we can train this model and it can understand Igbo, we do it for the next generation. So I'm just trying to say that there are some things that are paid for on YouTube. We're trying with creators. But I think on the other side, we also know that there are emotional incentives. And hopefully, that's something that, people find also useful for their... Did I answer you? Thank you. All right, Nike's question. What kind of jobs? I think I spoke a little bit about, I was even saying things like prompt engineering, like things like that, like computer visioning, natural language processing, data analytics. Again, I'm not the kind of person where I feel like we need to force people who are not necessarily, what's the word now? No, I wouldn't even say tech savvy because there are tech adjacent skills that are going to be necessary as well. Not everyone needs to write code, right? So, but we must at least expose people to it. That's why we're doing the skilling work that we're doing right now. And we're already getting, the ones that excite me the most are the young girls that are learning, AI in Hausa. And you'll be shocked, to see the kind of things that they can do. If no one had brought that to them, you would have said, oh, the best thing this person can do is open up a shop somewhere. But no, We have to believe that there's more that people can do. And I can guarantee, even with AI, things will get easier. You'll be able to, like right now, you can show AI a picture of a web page and it will write the code for you. You don't need to write the code. Right? So yes, it will write the code for you. You all know this, right? Okay, now I'm telling you. Right? Gemini can do that, which is Google's large language model. Okay, all right. So perspective on risk. There are definitely risks, and that is why at Google we have, guardrails that we've put out. Number one, AI must be ethical. It will not be used for harm. It must, what's the word now? It must include everyone. So we have 8 rules, that we put forward when we develop AI. And one of the things that we're doing is we're working actively with the government. I'm sure you all know there's an AI strategy that the Honorable Minister, Dr. Bosun Tijani, pulled a lot of AI experts from diaspora, Nigerians into the country. We were a part of that, as well as other technology companies as well. And there's a strategy that's right now, the first draft is out, and it really includes how we make sure that we are protecting people in this, new knowledge economy and AI world that we're going into. So there are risks, and it's important that we have those guardrails in place. Okay. Peace. Shadow banning. So let me tell you the challenge with shadow banning is AI creates content, and some of the time there are content that the system can identify as deepfakes, right? In terms of the fact that this is content that is created and is mimicking what it shouldn't. Now, I know that for a fact, for content like that, they will be stopped. But there are times when certain things slip through that we call them false positives, right? So it's not necessarily content that should have been shadow banned, but is. And the systems are learning. I'll be the first to tell you, like with AI, there's so many things that are, changing very quickly. But because at Google, we're always trying to make sure that we're safe than being sorry. So there will be those incidences. We have something called Synth ID, which if you generate something with our own generator, image generator, it will append a watermark that tells everyone, it cannot be seen with the naked eye, but machines will see that this is not an original. This is an AI-generated image. And I think those are the kind of policies that we want other large language producers or hyperscalers essentially to also adopt, so that people can tell the difference very quickly between what is real and what is fake. Because we are moving into a world where that is a real problem. Okay? All right, I think I took your questions. That's it. Yes. Peace. Answer. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the questions. Yes.
So just to say, this is an insight session by Google Nigeria in partnership with Google West Africa in partnership with the NESG. So please let's keep questions direct. There's also a sea of hands, and I just want to apologize in case we are not able to get to you. We would find a way to get your contributions to Google.
Good day, my name is Ibrahim Bello. I'm Group Head, First Bank. AI, it's what I would call, is still in the developmental stage. A lot of funds are going into it. For instance, an OpenAI, they are projected to triple their current losses in the next 3 years to around $16 billion. But they are still investing. And recently, a lot of banks actually invested billions in OpenAI, projecting based on what is going to be possible in future. So I want to know, for instance, Google, what is the level of investment in Africa on this, and also in Nigeria? What is the level of investment, and how does it compare to your revenue in this area? Because for instance, I'll take Gmail, for instance. In terms of the space, the space is around, I don't know what it is, but the 100 gig is around $9 per month. And millions of Nigerians are paying this. It's an area in which the revenue, where is the revenue what is the volume of the revenue that is even going to the government spaces? And how is it being utilized? So I don't know, I'm not really sure that a lot of this information are actually out there. So that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much, Olumide, for that very insightful session. Two things. First and foremost is to give a bit of feedback. You did say that you left school 20 years ago, so you are officially a dinosaur. You need to do more for dinosaurs, actually. I would recommend, if there's still the opportunity, that this kind of session should be taken to the bigger platform. It's plenary, absolutely. It's essential, and if indeed Google wants to support the literacy of AI at a national level, then you must do more to convince your participation at bigger levels. I think the platforms are existing. It's just important that you insist to use them. That's on the one hand. On the second hand is, so the issue, one of the barriers of data, and the gentleman who just spoke, the lack of availability of information and all of that. Have you been able to do comparative analysis or benchmarking across closer countries in the realm of development that also have similar barriers? So one of the things I noticed is in Nigeria, for instance, we're very competitive. And so data is very protected in a way, in a local way, like I'm not going to share. That education of your sharing to develop the economy is not deep, and people really don't understand it, so we don't use it. I'd rather not share. I'd rather die or go to the grave with my information. That seems to be the attitude, but I think it's largely because of also our competitive nature. Do we have case studies, countries that are also competitive, but have found a way around making data available? And my third question, so this is personal, and being one of the dinosaurs in the room, is that I have noticed that, and again, maybe also being a Nigerian, we thrive on academic qualifications. And done a lot of studies, gone to Ivy League schools online. By the way, it's free for the other dinosaurs. If you're at a particular level, you can ask for sponsorship. The Stanfords, the Imperial College London, very great school, Oxford, they offers free AI courses. So I would encourage everyone to do it. But after those courses, I realized something. We almost can't use them when the organization is not ready. So you get rusty again. Imagine a dinosaur getting rusty, after learning. So we need more practical, where are the, except you make it, a personal thing to find the right, platforms. So it's interesting for me because a lot of people know that I've gathered knowledge. So they call me now to come and speak on AI. I'm like, why are you calling? What would you? So I think we need more of people like, you, but who understand the lack of a broader spectrum to learn from and to utilize all of the digital technology that we claim is out there.
Thank you. I didn't get your name, though. Did you say?
Dr. Morris Atoki.
Dr. Morris. Godwin, you know Dr. Morris, because the way you call that name.
Okay, hello. My name is Tomiwa Adefokun. I lead AI for EY in West Africa.
For who, sorry?
EY.
EY, okay.
Okay, so mine is more of comments, maybe some little bit of questions. And it will come from the angle of, you mentioned that prompt engineering may be, a kind of profession. But what I have figured is that we probably need to be our own prompt engineers. And we've seen that from experience. We've seen people who didn't have any technical background, but because they are able to use AI, they are now creating, fantastic stuff. Things that would take me 10 years ago as a software engineer, 3 months to build. I've seen colleagues, developing the same solution, leveraging AI in 2 hours. So the kind of productivity that comes with knowing what AI can do and how you can engage with it, which is the essential concept of, prompt engineering, using AI properly, which is nothing really more than, communication skills. I think is the fundamental skill that everybody should have. I don't, if we restrict it to some people and say we are going to train maybe a section of our business in prompt engineering, or even hire prompt engineers into the business, we are likely going to create a dichotomy where we have some super smart people who can use AI effectively and doing seriously well, and then the other division who are just ordinary humans like every other person. So I think it might be really useful that organizations take it serious that everybody needs to have AI capability. But when I speak with leaders, they said the hyperscalers are telling us that we need to get our data right before we start our AI journey. Yeah, so
which hyperscalers?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't want to go into the details. Yeah, it's not entirely false that organizations need to get their data right, but there are a whole lot that you can already do with AI tools that are available with Gemini and all that you can plug into. It's essentially systems integration, and you're able to do so much with it. Yeah, I think I can leave it at that, right, for now. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Tomiwa. But by the way, I agree with you. I think all your points are very valid. Yes. I think there's higher levels and complexities of prompt engineering that will happen in the future as the models get more complex and more integrated. And the work of the prompt engineers would not just to be to put the prompt in, but I think it would be to teach the model how we should respond to the prompt. But I agree with you that there should be a basic level that everyone should have. Let me take this round, and then I know there's some hands up at the back. Let me start with Ibrahim. What is the level of investment? It's a good question. I think one of the things that I'll say 2 things on the investment front. Number one is infrastructure. We've done infrastructure investments, for example, in Africa, not in Nigeria, in data centers. Cloud regions, for example, because we think that it's important for us because we think it's important for us to make sure that there are data centers here on the continent so that it reduces latency for computing that's going to happen, the loads that are coming. So we've done investments there. There are other ones that I cannot share now because it's not public, but there are things that we're definitely thinking about on the infrastructure side. I already talked about the Equiano undersea cable. Those are things that would help the AI work. They're not AI themselves, but we all understand how important connectivity is if everyone is to take advantage of this revolution. So we've done infrastructure investments, is the point I wanted to make. The other thing is skilling investments. I mean, last year, we did a 1.5 billion naira investment in skilling. 1.5 billion. 1.5 billion naira investment in skilling. And, everyone always says, whenever we say that, oh, you know what, we're investing, everyone would say, and in all honesty, I was even with the president, and he did say to me, oh, you know what, that's a token. And I said, I agree. But we need many other organizations to also come forward. Every 10 million, 20 million helps us. And when I say us, I'm not talking about Google, I'm a Nigerian. And what I want to do is I want to see my country prosper. And that's why the company that I work in is a vehicle just to help us do that. So we should all think about that. Even First Bank should think about that as well, in terms of how can you come to the party there. Dr. Morris, thank you for your question. So you are right about data. I mean, we have a Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. We're still trying to make it work. So you can see that it's not just data. In Africa in general, we are not doing enough to trade and to come together and say, how do we pull together the resources? But I think that that's something that is changing. I don't think it's something for any one company to do. I think it's something that we should be talking about at a policy level. But it's also important that when we talk about data, we talk about data from the perspective of security. Is how do we make sure that the data is secure? How do we make sure that the data is anonymized? Because what I would love to do is to be able to go into a global forum at Google and say, how many % of the data that you're training the models with are from Africa? The next question they're going to ask me is, where is the data? Right? So that's work that we all need to do together. Private sector, public sector. We have to make sure. And there's work that's going on. I think we just need to accelerate it, to make sure that we can leverage. And we need more people. I think there are a lot of people. Whether or not they have the platform is the question. And I think I'm very lucky and I'm favored because NSG has given us this opportunity. I work at a company that, also gives me the opportunity to share things like this. And that is why, I want to be a voice to say, how do we make sure that we are also giving credence to all the other voices that are contributing and saying that, hey, I was talking to Mr. The former CEO of NESG, and I was saying to him, I said, you need to get younger people. I know I'm a bit of a dinosaur, but I was saying that even within NESG we need to get younger people as well into the ranks. I know they have a whole, section, but how do we make sure that we get younger people? And it's not just in tech, in creativity, there's so much. If you're not in the zeitgeist, I always tell people, like, if the average age of a country is 18, it's very difficult for people who are much older to make decisions without consulting with that. They will make wrong decisions. And I think that's something that we can all, hopefully, I think advocate for. Okay? I don't know how many more minutes. I want to be respectful of your time as well. Okay. Oh, what was the other one? Sorry. What was the other one? Yes, okay, you said that how do you make sure that the knowledge is not, so that's why when I looked at the list of people who are in the room, I saw there's a lot of people who are in C-suite. It's important that we start thinking about, at a strategic level, how are we creating an ecosystem within our organizations that gives people an access to use these skills, right? That's number one, because and I say this, I said I'm standing here with a sense of urgency. We are moving into an area where it is global competition. First Bank is not competing with Zenith Bank. It's competing with a bank that is somewhere in another country, because the borders are going to be very, 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 very blurred. So we have to make sure that we are preparing our workforce for this future. The other thing I would say is that if you are picking up the skills and you're in an organization that doesn't give you the opportunity to use it, get into online forums. There are a lot of online forums that have problems that you can solve. There's somebody I was mentoring on data science, and that's how he started. He wanted to leave the country. I said, go and do data science for 6 months or 9 months or something like that. He was working in a bank. And he went into forums and he started solving problems, met a mentor on there. The problems that he has now is that he always has a job offer. That's the only thing I mentor him now. It's like, I just got this other job offer. He's in this country. Should I go? That's the problem. This is somebody that had a problem with, I'm not getting paid well enough, and I'm not. And I said, you have to think about how you can. So there are many online forums that give you the opportunity to use the skills as well, and also engage with other people. I'll share some with you after. I'll share some with you after now. I'm representing Google here. All right, let's take a few more questions and then we can close. Okay.
Around cybersecurity and adversarial attacks as we look into.
So she's talking about the risk part, cybersecurity, and as a matter of fact, I know that Microsoft was having a session on cybersecurity today. I don't know if it was at the same time because I actually thought that people should leave that one and go to that one because yes. I think number one is that we have to have, again, it is a thing around talent, because cybersecurity itself there are people that is their job, to protect us online, to protect our information. And right now, unfortunately, we just don't have enough. I mean, globally, there's a shortfall, right? Globally. But I think that when you think about locally here, we're even more stressed. So it's really thinking about how we upskill on talent, number one, specific to the area of cybersecurity. I think number two is how we have the right policies. And then number three is that we need to collaborate with countries that are doing very well here in the cybersecurity space. Yes, ma'am. Can you please give up?
It's an area where we already have a gap.
Yes.
It's an area where we already have a gap. So we are going to scale up AI and encourage people. So we also have to match that as well. So, and that's really, so as we're doing that engagement, we need to ensure that we put the right policies, as you said, in place, the right controls in terms of cybersecurity controls to ensure that even as we are progressing and, doing a lot of things around building LLMs for the country that is really, really specific to our area, we are also building the necessary matching controls that will be able to match whatever issues that can come out of the risk as we embrace AI in Nigeria.
Thank you. Thank you. I agree. Thank you, ma'am. Do you want me to wrap up? Okay. One more question. Okay, one more. I'm so sorry. I see there's a lot of hands.
Hi, everyone. My name is Uli. And I did have a question, but you had already answered it. And it's possibly from someone that's chronically online and what you can call a chronically online person. So I wanted to know about deepfakes and sort of how we can navigate using, differentiating those sorts of deepfakes. But you had already answered that you're using the sort of unseen watermarks and machines.
Yes,
will answer that, so thank you. Then the second,
She has not asked the question. Let her finish.
She didn't ask it. Sorry. Let's take one more question, and then we'll wrap up. Let's just take one more. Yes, please. One more question. We just want to be respectful of the time for others as well.
Super short. It was just what you had mentioned about AGI. So, and you said a computer can learn by itself. I just wanted to know what that means in real terms for someone not learned in something like this. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So AGI is something that is not here yet. Okay, but I know there's a lot of work that's going on in the sector, because right now the AI models essentially are giving data. So think about what computers. So what used to happen is that we will tell the computer that if you see an animal with two wings, has a beak, it means that it's a bird. That was before. With AI, what happens is that we give the computer books to read about birds, right? So the computer reads the books and can identify the bird by itself. Now, what AGI does is that you don't give it something to read. It will self-learn, which means that by itself, it's learning over time. And that's why the expectation from AGI is that it will surpass humans. There's two schools of thought on whether it will be sentient or not. It won't be. So I personally don't think that it's going to take over the world. But yes, there are schools of thought that are worried about that. I think what we need to be worried about as a country is the fact that there are barriers right now that doesn't even allow us to take advantage of the most basic AI that's available. And I said that I'm very action biased. So I know we've had a great conversation, and I don't want to leave this meeting with, we had a great conversation. I want us to think about what role can you play? When we talk about talent, what role can your organization play when we talk about talent? Whether it is with skilling people who are already in jobs or skilling people who need jobs. How can you think about how you skill yourself? What is your personal strategy when it comes to getting the information that you need with AI? For government officials that are in the room or that will listen in on this at another time, is how do we make sure that we're working together to develop the right policies that make us ready from a data perspective? How do we make sure we're investing in the right infrastructure? how do we make sure that our education is actually educating people for what will be the world that they will be in, not the world that we were in? So how do we make sure that we're really making those moves? And as Google, we're very proud because we're a company that thinks constantly about how we develop the ecosystem. And as I said, we play across every single one of these categories. So if you have any other ideas that you would like for us to also take into, whether it's our conversation with policymakers, or whether it is in how we're thinking about the next phase of what we do with skilling, or whether it's in infrastructure, please feel free to send them our way, and we'll make sure that we include them in our strategy. On that note, I want to thank you. Thank you very much for a really engaging conversation.
Thank you, everyone. I know we still have more questions, but we have a hard stop because there's a plenary that's about to start in Congress Hall. But before our speaker leaves, we would just like to take a group photograph. Mr. Olumide, group photograph. Dr. Juliet, a group photograph off stage, please. Amaka. Off stage.